On the mic with us today is Chris Assaad, a musician, healer, and the voice coach who believes in the power of the human voice as a tool for profound healing.
When it comes down to the very essence of why the voice is so powerful is because it is a physical extension of who we are. It moves, like our body is the instrument, our vessel. And when we make sound using our own voice, we're literally giving ourselves vibrational medicine. We're creating vibrational resonance in our own body. Forget about everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I say a divine instrument, what I'm really talking about is the fact that no two voices are alike. Your voice is 100% unique. It is a snowflake. It is a sonic fingerprint that you have that's like an expression of your soul. And so when you make sound and you allow your...
In our conversation, we explored the magic of reclaiming your sound. Chris is here to show you how you can break free from emotional blockages and can unlock that power within. This is Rise and Thrive with Ms. Monday. I'm your host, a photographer, filmmaker, and artist devoted to telling stories of brave souls who are standing up, speaking truth, and building something better. My podcast is independently created and powered by passion. Just my soul connecting with your soul. If something here moves you on the show, I'd be honored if you'd like, subscribe, and share it. Your support fuels this movement, and it means more than you know. So thank you. Thank you for listening. So I don't know if you know this about me, and I thought I would just start with this, but my dad is almost deaf. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know.
So I grew up in this interesting environment where my dad always had hearing aids, and he has these superpower hearing aids, and he plugs them in the wall. And luckily through hearing technology, he can hear a lot better now than he did 20 years ago. But I grew up in this environment where we were always yelling at each other, just to get a simple idea across. I was at home and I would be like, "Dad," and friends would come over and they'd be like, "Are you guys fighting?" And I'm like, "No," because we speak Swedish too. So it'd be like, "No, I'm just trying to tell my dad," like I'm doing something. And my dad is the most sweetest soul. He's so kind. And, growing up in that type of environment, I have developed a deep appreciation for sound. But there's also a question, maybe we can talk about this later on in the episode today, but it has to do with when you don't hear anything. My father is so sweet. He walks around in pure presence most of the time, and especially when he takes his hearing aid out, he's just smiling and nothing can bother him, So it's so interesting how sound has such an amazing impact, but it could go both ways. It could be positive and it could be negative, right? But obviously today we're going to talk about the power of sound, because most people that are listening are obviously people who can hear because they're listening to this podcast, right? But with that intro, I'm curious, what was your upbringing like? What drew you to music and sound?
Well,
it's a very unique journey, I'm sure.
There is actually a connection here that maybe you're not aware of, which is that I've also had hearing issues.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have a deep experiential reference point for what you're talking about, not to the extent of your father, but so my upbringing, to start with, I think there's levels, right? I think you have the experience that you were conscious of, and then as you maybe go on a path of deepening your connection with yourself and peeling back the layers, you start to come into contact with things that maybe were going on in your emotional, energetic experience when you were young that maybe you felt, but you didn't really know what was going on and how to put your finger on. And so, yeah, I'd say for the most part, I had a super loving upbringing. My parents were really loving and present to a degree. And then there was a level of maybe what my sensitive soul needed in terms of presence, and realizing that maybe later on in life, maybe I didn't really get that, and understanding why, and it is interesting because when you talk about our experiences with our families of origin, our siblings, our classmates, those tend to be the spaces where our relationship with our own voice gets formed and kind of
Mm.
cemented, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
immediately for you, I go to the place where I'm like, yeah, maybe, well, I wonder what it was like to feel like you were never really heard, or like you really needed to
Yeah.
over express yourself just to be heard. And I can also relate to that because I think that's one of my sort of first frontiers in navigating my relationship to my own voice was like, it's actually about me recreating that experience of being heard for myself that I never really got. And that's so common. That's
Mm-hmm.
so common that most of the time, people who are stagnated or stifled in the use of their voice, there's some way that they're being invited through that to be that for themselves and cultivate that relationship at this point in life for themselves when maybe when they were younger they couldn't. So that's a little bit about my upbringing, and then my journey into music was sort of this like really unmistakable ignition point because I kind of casually wanted to start playing guitar and you
Mm.
know jamming around the campfire in university. And previous to that, I'd never really thought I had any musical interest. I had a piano teacher growing up who, God bless her, was just not a fun person to learn music from. And I got super turned off. It was just kind of
Okay.
like this really sterile, like,
Rigid, probably.
yeah, like just not fun at all. It was like, like conservatory vibes. And I was just like, okay, this isn't it. It actually created like a negative association. And so it
Wow.
wasn't until later that I was like, music, like really like
Mm.
something awoke in me. And it was a combination of somewhat starting to awaken more spiritually through reading books like The Power of Now and coming into
Mm.
contact with like an osteopath who gave me some Ram Dass tapes and who like taught me how to breathe properly so that I
Mm.
could actually like find the off switch for my mind. And at the
Mm.
very same time, I started playing music and was like, oh, this is like another doorway to the same kind of state. And
Mm.
then, and that all of that was amplified by the fact that when I started playing music, I was also at that very time losing my hearing very
Mm.
quickly, and I didn't know what was going on. And so my initial
Mm.
attempts at learning an instrument were like kind of thwarted, and people that were learning alongside me were having much easier time than me. And I was like, this is weird. I'm not usually like a slow learner. And then I discovered I was losing my hearing. And so it all made sense. And, long story short, I had my hearing corrected. I had surgery on both ears. And
Wow.
yeah, there was a couple of different avenues, but that was the one that I chose to go down, which
Mm.
gave me back most of the hearing that I lost at that time.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a new beginning and a fresh start. And then I was just like on fire for music because it was this thing that I thought I wasn't going to be able to really do or do very well. And then all of a
Mm.
sudden it was like available to me in a way that it hadn't been before. And I couldn't get enough. And so that was sort of how it all started. It was like this really unmistakable orchestration. Like, okay, don't miss this assignment. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is you're meant to get on this ride. And that's how it started.
Wow. It was
Yeah.
like a gift.
And
And
I've been on a journey with my hearing since, and it is a gift, but it does come with challenges too. Like when
mm-hmm.
you say about your dad being like this
Yeah.
happy-go-lucky guy, like there is so much that you actually don't want to hear, and I've
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the last little while, I've started trying to use hearing aids because I'm kind of at that point where I
Mm.
can get away with it if I don't use them, but in some situations I do actually need them. But
Mm.
my first initial impression is like, there's so much input that this is giving me that I actually don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is a level of bliss of just
Mm-hmm.
like having much of that noise tuned out.
Yeah, for sure.
But also it also requires you, which could be part of the gift too, to develop other senses.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
oh, for sure.
your sense of what's
Yeah.
happening energetically in a space or what the energy behind a communication is, even if you don't
Yeah.
know what the words a person is saying is, you can kind of tell like. And
Yeah.
that's a skill and that's a gift too that I think was part of the gift for me because of what I do. Having that ability to read the energy in a room is really essential, you
Yeah.
know?
And you know what? That's exactly, you described my father as well. Like
Mm.
he has so much empathy. So even though he could barely hear us in some ways, when we were sad, he was like, oh, like he knew, he
Yeah.
could feel it in a
Yeah.
different way. It was almost like his presence was so much like was right there. And he's been able, he has this sense about him. It's like this, like, yeah, it's like this knowing of unknowing, like knowing that there's, the reading the presence, like in a room, like you just said, like having that,
Yeah.
it's almost like a heightened sense because he's lost one part of his senses, another has been heightened.
Hmm.
But okay, so bringing it back to why we're here, and we're talking about the voice and the
Yeah.
sound
Yeah.
and how the voice you have described is like the divine instrument.
Mm.
I'm sure a lot of listeners are wondering,
What the heck
what?
does that mean?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wouldn't have said that I wouldn't have said that many years ago. So,
Yeah, I'd love to hear
well,
why.
the voice connection, I was going to say the voice connection and the way that you just described it didn't really evolve until later, but that's not actually true because it was always about the voice for me. Meaning,
Mm,
what drew me into music was certain artists whose voice I just felt like was
mm,
this like transporting stimulus that would take me into other spaces and that could like really activate an emotional or a feeling experience. So Ben Harper was
mm.
one of those singers. Bob Marley was one of those singers. Even
Yes.
Gord Downie, the Tragically Hip. I wanted to learn the Tragically Hip. That was the initial inspiration.
Yeah.
And he's like, a folk rock singer, but with so much emotion and so much conveyed through the voice.
Mm,
Like, so that was sort of what drew me in. It
mm,
was singing and voice and melody. And so
mm,
I went on that journey of, discovering my own voice through my efforts to express myself musically.
mm,
And then many, 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 many years later, I had the opportunity to gain a totally different, more holistic understanding of voice, sort of almost like distinct from voice as it relates to music. And
mm,
the way that arose, alongside my own journey of like freeing my voice as a singer and just becoming more confident in my expression as an artist and even as a writer, as a speaker, which is all voice, right? Even
mm,
writing, or how you dress, it's an expression of who you are. It moves through
mm,
the energy center of your throat chakra, which is your expression, right?
mm,
But something very specific that kind of opened the way for me to really delve deeper into this voice work was that I was also coaching at the time,
mm,
more in the personal development space, just like life coaching, helping people find their way on their path. And some of my closest friends and like long-standing clients, all in a series of short span of time, started to ask me for help with their voice.
mm,
And it was like one of those things where if you're just paying attention to who's showing up in front of you and what life is asking of you,
mm,
there was something really clear about like, okay, all these people are asking me to help them with their voice. And obviously I have some experience with that as a singer and as like, I've done some vocal training and
mm,
I've even taught people like technique, which I didn't want to do that. It wasn't like I wasn't going to be like a voice teacher,
mm,
like in the sense of like I'm going to do scales with you. I'm going to like that wasn't the thing. So I just said yes to exploring and experimenting with these few people who trusted me enough. And that sort of started the sort of portal opening of really gaining an understanding of the blocks that we all carry and
mhm,
the way that that is such a like universal collective experience and sort of the mechanisms of how that happens for so many of us through those formative years in our upbringing, in our classrooms, in our households, with our siblings and our parents and our friends and our teachers. And so, you observe something enough times and you start to see patterns and because of my, let's say, energetic, intuitive kind of nose, which is what made me, want to be a coach in the first place, is that I could
mhm,
sense where maybe people were stuck or blocked
mhm,
and I could help them navigate. I was able to just develop this modality, this way of helping people unblock their voice.
mm,
And the results were profound. It was like, okay, this is what I've wanted to do with people that the talk therapy style of coaching wasn't really allowing because, like you said at the very beginning, it wasn't really helping people get into their body, which is
mm,
where the block or the trauma or the memory actually
Mm.
lives.
Yeah.
And so that's really when it comes down to the very essence of why the voice is so powerful, is
Mm.
because it is a physical extension of who we are. It moves, like our body is the instrument,
Mhm.
our vessel, right?
Mhm.
And when we make sound using our own voice, we're literally giving ourselves vibrational medicine, right? We're
Wow.
creating vibrational resonance in our own body. Forget about everybody else,
Yeah.
right? And so when I say a divine instrument, what I'm really talking about is the fact that no two voices are alike. Your voice is 100% unique. It is a snowflake. It is a sonic fingerprint that you have that's like an expression of your soul. And so when you make sound and you allow your voice to vibrate in your vessel, it has the potential to create a specific kind of healing that no other thing can create, because it's literally like your home frequency, right? You're
Mm.
literally giving your cells like a remembrance of who you are at a soul level through that expression. It's like
Mm.
looking into someone's eyes, right? And just like getting
Mhm.
lost in someone's eyes, because you're literally looking through a window. They say the eyes are the window to the soul, right? The
Mhm.
voice is the expression of the soul.
Yes.
So when we allow that vibration to resonate in our being, in our bodies, in our energy centers, it's
Mhm.
healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that some people, when they're not at their authentic self, their
Yes.
voice maybe cracks, or maybe
Yeah.
they're talking in a different frequency. I don't know. But when they fully embody, their voice can maybe even shift slightly. Like, have you
Mm-hmm.
seen that?
Oh,
Like,
100%.
witness any transformations within your clients?
Yeah, like so much of what you're saying is exactly how it tends to be, which can be certain kinds of expression are sort
Yeah.
of like off the table for people, like we
Yeah.
kind of develop in these adaptive ways of this particular volume is okay for me, this particular volume isn't, or this particular tone of expression, or emotional feeling tone
Yeah.
like sadness or joy. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these things are colored by our upbringing and our culture, right? Like
Yeah.
certain cultures are more quiet and more polite and they develop a way, right? So that
Yeah.
person, it's not that they're physiologically unable to make a louder sound or a bigger sound. It's that they were trained to inhabit that posture. And so
Mm-hmm.
when someone does this work of reclaiming that connection and really exploring, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I invite people to do is go where you haven't gone before. Like just explore a volume that's kind of an edge for you, or a pitch that's kind of an edge for you, or a sound that's kind of, because that's where you're going to find there's energy stored that you've been kind of cut off from.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
not always about being loud or big, sometimes it's in the tenderest, subtle sounds that you find this like little crevice of your being where
Mm.
some memory lives or something that you stored in there lives. And you just, with that laser
Mm.
accuracy that you can have when you're the one making the sound and
Mm.
receiving the vibration, you can make some serious magic happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of times the way that it shows up when someone's unblocking, clearing, is the old stuff tends to move in the form of tears,
Oh, wow.
laughter, or even just through the sound itself. But it's
Mm.
usually like there's a clear sense that, okay, we're kind of digging for oil. Oh, we struck gold. Something
Mm.
comes up. You hit a pocket of energy. Like there's that thing. And then that thing moves, and then all of a sudden the channel is more clear. And as
Mm-hmm.
a result, that person will be more free in their expression. It's like
Yeah.
physics,
Wow.
it's just like
Yeah. It's so,
it's a replicable phenomenon.
wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Wow. There's so much that we haven't even explored yet when it comes to sound. And it's actually really interesting because I just recently learned that bird song,
Yes.
so birds that sing in spring usually or throughout the summer, they're actually stimulating plant growth.
Mhm.
Isn't that wild? Just imagine that nature's sound has a purpose. And not only so what I've learned, which is so cool, and I wanted to bring it up today because I think that a lot of people don't know this and they're just like, what do you mean? And then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, wait, that makes so much sense, right? But apparently the vibrations um suggests that the frequencies of birdsong, especially at the 1,000, 8,000 hertz range, can trigger the opening of a plant. So in
Wow.
the morning, right? And it actually is also has the ability to absorb carbon dioxide and
Wow.
perform photosynthesis. And I've heard that birds are actually having to sing louder in big cities now
Huh.
because we're creating so much noise.
Wow.
Isn't that effed up? Like, well, first of all, it's so freaking
Fascinating.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm so interested in this. So I'm going to like dive into it. I don't know a lot, but I'm like really exploring this right now. And I'm like, oh
Mm.
my God. And when I heard that, I was like, what? Like a light bulb went. That makes so much sense. The birds come out in spring. They're
Yeah.
singing all the time. Like how magical. So if you think about like how amazing that is, imagine what our sound is doing. Like what is our sound doing? And I'm sure there's going to be a ton more research coming out in the next couple of years,
Yeah.
right? But you are obviously diving into that a little bit right now. So it's interesting, right? For
Yeah, and
sure.
actually, it's funny when you mentioned the bird song thing. I just saw the other day, literally, that someone was posting about how bird song also supports our nervous system because it's
Wow.
basically a signal to us that we're in a safe environment. Because if birds are singing, that means all is well. There's no predators, there's no danger, right? So
Mm,
our nervous systems recognize that as a sound that tells us, okay, all is well. You can relax. So bringing that back to how our human
amazing.
voices can impact us, very, very simple, physical, well-researched phenomenon is that
Mm,
when you make sound, you're basically activating the vagus nerve, which is basically the central nerve that runs through the entire body, through every system and function that we have. And that is literally the quickest way to signal your nervous system to kind of shift down into parasympathetic just by making sound. It doesn't have to be musical, it doesn't have to be pretty. It's
yeah.
part of our own healing technology that's internal, that we have all these external things that we can do, but this is one thing that doesn't cost any money. Doesn't
Yeah.
require you to see a person or get help from, I mean, you can if you're needing guidance and support, which is where someone like me would come in, but
Yeah.
at the very root of it, this is for everyone.
Yeah. For those who are losing touch with sound or awakening to these ideas that we're talking about right now, how can we connect? And what causes this disconnection? I mean, I know you mentioned earlier it was like trauma, maybe,
Yeah.
but is there something that you think that has caused this disconnection? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your
Yeah,
thoughts on
I'll
that.
answer that first and then the question you
Yeah.
asked before after. I think
Yeah.
I think most of us, so if you believe that we get one life on this earth, then we'll talk about it in the context of one life. If you believe that we live many lives, then you can relate this back to a previous lifetime. But I like to think at some point down the way, going back,
Hmm.
we were free. Like, and I like to give the image of like a fully inflated beach ball. It's just like a perfect circle. That's us in our full expression, our
Mm.
freedom. There's no self-consciousness. Like, and basically the best example you can think of that is a kid.
Yeah.
You put a kid in front of a piano, and what do? They just make all kinds of
Yeah.
noise, and they're like, there's no like, oh, I hope this isn't too loud. Like, there's
Yeah.
there's none of that, right? And even kids, the way they cry, the way they like express themselves when they're
Hmm.
upset, there's not really a lot of in the way, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So what typically happens is that somewhere along the way, we are given a message from our primary caretakers or the people who our survival depends on,
Mm.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Or kids are better seen, not heard. Or don't express too much, don't express your sadness. Don't express too much joy. Don't be too loud. Don't be too this. Don't be too that.
Mm.
And for a young nervous system in an environment of origin, where their survival depends on the people who are looking after them,
Mm.
that's a matter of life. That becomes a matter of life and death. It's like, if I
Mm.
do that thing, I'm going to lose favor with mom, dad, brother, friend, teacher. So
Mm.
our young developing selves have to make the choice unconsciously, like, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's an unconscious decision that gets made. Okay, I'm going to only express in these ways that doesn't put me in danger of losing love, losing connection, losing favor with the people that are most important.
Mm.
And so I'd say for most of the people that I've come across and that I work with, that there's some version of that. And it can be small.
Mm.
It can be seemingly insignificant, like, just one time going to say something in front of the classroom and someone snickering in the background, or telling
Mm.
a boy or a girl that they had a crush and they didn't get the response they wanted, or
Yeah.
telling a joke and nobody laughed. Like, it doesn't matter that it's so traumatic in the sense of like some
Mm.
big thing, but for a little person developing, it is a big
Mm.
thing. It
Yeah.
registers as a big thing. So that's usually where our relationship with our voice gets impacted and there's a disconnect
Mm.
that happens.
Mm.
And so then the second question that you were asking was, how can people re-establish that or start
Mm-hmm.
to, go down this path of establishing a connection? And I would say one thing is awareness. Like,
Mm.
just to be in an inquiry and curious about, like, what is my relationship with my voice?
Mm-hmm.
And start observing, like, how does that feel in my body? Because usually,
Mm.
whatever you say your relationship is with your voice, it's going to correspond to how you feel.
Mm.
Where some people will be like, yeah, I don't really trust it when I'm like speaking in front of a group or when I'm in a social situation. And as they're saying this to me,
Yeah.
they're already
Yeah.
feeling that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's where it lives in the body, right? That's where the stuckness is. So that's the first step. And then the second
Mm.
step is you got to use your voice. The same way
Mm.
the wound happened or the block happened, which was in the use of the voice, that's the
Mm.
same way it's going to leave. And so that's the gift of the voice, as this vibrational tool that can literally like move that gunk out of the channel. It can literally clear the channel very easily. Just as
Mm.
easily as those blocks came in, they can leave. And so
Mm.
that's where, yeah, just sounding, toning, chanting, just, using your instrument and doing it with an awareness of, okay, this is for me. This is for my
Mhm.
own healing. It's not for anybody else, not about anybody else. Doesn't need to sound good or anything like that. And
Mm.
establishing that voice body connection.
Mhm. That's so true. The voice body connection. Wow. It's true, right?
Yeah, it's a part of our being and it's
Mhm.
also a part of our physicality, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
both, which is what makes it so magical because it's
Mhm.
kind of like this thing that bridges the visible and the invisible.
So now, I mean, that's a lot about your voice alchemy work, and I
It
think that's
is.
amazing. But you are also a musician, and
Yes.
you're performing and you're going on tour, and I know you're always doing shows and stuff like that. Now, as a mom, I'm a mom now. I'm so cautious. Like what I listen to around my kids.
Mm.
I'm so cautious of what I'm listening to in lyrics. And one thing I love about you, Chris, is that your lyrics are so nice. They are, like you listen to your music and you're like, oh, I feel good. Like, I mean, it doesn't obviously have to be like so good, but it's like, where's the intention? What are you listening to these days? Like the, you know, I don't know, music's everywhere, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we can
Mm-hmm.
turn the radio on in a flip of a switch. This wasn't, our ancestors, my great grandmother didn't have this is new tech, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're so blessed to have it, but at the same time, it allows us to be surrounded by noise all the time. And I guess the choice of the noises that we bring into our lives are so interesting.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear your opinion on something like this, like as a musician, because we are like literally some people can't live without sound. Like I actually have a girlfriend who when she comes over, she needs music in the background, like, and I used to be like that. Like I'd be like a friend come over, I'd have to have music playing. But like, I find now, like I'm cool with like a cup of tea and like quietness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, that's just changed over the years. That was not me 5 years ago, it's weird. So it's interesting. So to you, I guess I'll ask you a question. How important is, you know, surrounding ourselves with the right type of lyrics or sounds
Yeah.
to you? What do you think? I'm
Well,
interested.
I kind of see it as like it's a form of nourishment, right? It's a
Mm,
nutrient. And so
yeah,
for me, it's
it's
no
true.
different than what I read, what I watch, what I listen
Mm,
to. But music in particular is a medium that has the power to really go deep into our
mm,
psyche, into our consciousness, into our
mm,
body. That's why, and our relationship to it can be
Mm-hmm.
so personal and so different, and what's good for one person may not be for another. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
do want to say like there can be this sort of false skewing towards like it always has to be pretty sounds and healing
Mm.
sounds, and
Yeah.
I think that might be a bit of a distortion because I think some people can get healing from like listening to music that's like really hardcore, like heavy
Mm.
metal, because that
Mm.
frequency is going to meet them where they're at and it might actually
Mm.
allow them to move something. But I
Mm.
think for me personally, and that's why I say I think it's really personal, it's just good to be again aware like, what am I listening to? Is it nourishing me? Is this a nutrient that I need? And I
Mm.
am super selective about what I watch. You know, like I don't, at this stage in my life, I don't really like consuming any entertainment that has a ton of violence in it. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
want to be subjected to the frequency of violence. I don't want to let that that frequency and those images into my consciousness because
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly trying to clear that
Mm.
space and keep it as, like you said, as pristine and as spacious as possible.
Mm-hmm.
One, so I can receive clear inspiration, and
Mm.
also, too, just so that I'm more at ease and at peace in my human vessel because there's less noise going on from
Mm-hmm.
the residue of those different kind of imprints.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely the more connected we are to our bodies and to ourselves, the more we want to be paying attention to what we allow in. And I think that's food, people, music,
Mm-hmm.
media, right? It's all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But as it relates to music specifically, yeah, I think there is a lot of noise out there. I think there is a lot of music out there that maybe isn't so intentionally created or that's actually created to keep people distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And, you
Yes.
know, so we do need to be mindful of what we listen to. And there's
Mm-hmm.
also a lot of music, especially now, that's being made with a lot of intention to support people in calming their nervous system, in
Mm-hmm.
healing and feeling, you know, more meditative or just, you know, even different frequencies, different tunings that are people are exploring, like more their original tuning as opposed to the kind of natural the tuning that we all use nowadays. So
Mm-hmm.
there's even artists starting to make records in those old tunings,
Yeah.
even mainstream artists. And so it's definitely we're living at a time where there's a real revolution happening with sound and music and even the voice thing. I think it's like really a a trend that's like
Mm.
a good thing that's happening. There's a collective awakening around voice.
Mm.
More and more people are noticing that that's something that they want to really claim for themselves. And there's more and more people offering support in those ways. And that's
Mm.
a good thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is a good thing. Wow. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, no, I don't want to let you go, but I
that's all
actually
right.
have another episode after this. So obviously I'd love I want you to plug and tell everyone how they can get a hold of you. But before that, is there any last words you want to leave to our listeners? Anything that
Um,
comes to mind? Hmm.
just an invitation to slowly, gently just make that connection for yourself. If something in the conversation sparked a curiosity in you, just yeah, just give yourself permission to follow it. It's a whole adventure that awaits. It's a lifelong adventure, it's a lifelong journey, but most people that go on that journey find something that they've been looking for a long time. And I wish that for everyone because every voice matters. You know, we all have something unique to share, to say, to offer. And oftentimes it's for us first. We need that medicine first. So if nothing else, the invitation is to really give yourself the gift of your own voice.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, the gift of your own voice. I love it. Oh, Chris, thank you so much for being here today. You're wonderful. You're such a sweet soul and such an amazing person. And I wish you all the best in everything that you do. And I can't wait to hear more music. I can't
Thank
wait to
you.
see your, and honestly, I've checked out some of your, voice alchemy healing guitar sessions on YouTube, and they're so cool. Like seeing the group of all the healers and listening, people watching you, and like so magical. So, hey, if any listeners are listening and they want to try this, reach out to Chris. And so tell our listeners your website. Is it?
Yeah, just chrisassad.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it in the show notes so they can find the correct spelling, but that's the best place to find everything.
Okay, wonderful. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so I'll close it out. Okay, so thank you so much for being here today, Chris. This conversation was a reminder that sound isn't just something we hear, it's something we feel and something that moves through us, connects us, and even heals us. And it's part of our nature, the natural. For everyone listening, I hope today sparked something within you, maybe a new curiosity about your own voice or deeper appreciation for the sounds you surround yourself with every day. Remember, your voice is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful, it's sacred, and it's yours. So yes, if you felt anything during this episode, share it with someone you love. Try one of these practices we talked about. Yeah, get quiet, make a sound, and listen to what your body wants and what it wants to say. So until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep turning into what's real. Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed our interview today, please share and like it. And if you have a unique story of how you are creatively engaging with our world, I can help you share it in a multitude of different ways. Whether it's through photography, film, or being a guest on my podcast, be sure to reach out. My mission is to make you and your brand stand out. Please visit our website, www.riseupandfixit.com. Now, this is Rise and Thrive with Ms. Monday, brought to you by the Rise Up and Fix It podcast.